Welcome. My name is Lisa. I'm Business Technology Evangelist at dox42 for quite some time now. And I've been working a lot with Dynamics CRM and the integration of dox42 with it. And hence, I'm really happy to be here today to show you how easily it is to integrate dox42 into Dynamics. I'm going to switch off my camera because the most part of today is going to be the live demo, so for you to see and to show you the full screen to enjoy it more. If you have questions, please post them in the chat panel. You see it to your right, I think it should be, and I hope there will be enough time to answer them in the end. Great, so camera off and let's get started. Great, so before we jump into the live demo, just a little bit of theory behind. The promise, it's just going to be a little bit. So in order to work with dox42 and Dynamics, you need certain preconditions. You need a little bit of technology in the background. So what is it? For the technology side, you of course need a Dynamics license. You either need Dynamics CRM on-premise that works, or D365 CE for customer engagement that works as well. Then SharePoint. If you work with dox42 online, you will need a SharePoint online to store your templates on. If you work with dox42 on-premise, you can also, of course, store your templates on a SharePoint, but you could store it on the server directly as well. And you can integrate, of course, also data sources from SharePoint. It's not just limited to Dynamics. If it's dox42 online, you need Azure Active Directory, so you need to make your app configurations in there. And then finally, the ones who are working with Dynamics might be familiar with Ribbon Workbench. This is what we're using to integrate the button call into the document, into Dynamics. Then dox42 wise, the dox42 designer, what do you need there? So for those of you who already know a little bit about dox42, the template design is done in Microsoft Office. So we have an add-in for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint where you can design your templates and connect to your data sources. One of those data sources is going to be a Dynamics CRM, and that's an additional data source which you can install for your add-ins as well. That's for the design. And then for the integration part, we need the dox42 server that can be online, or that can be the server on premise, and then the dox42 CRM server, and then our newly published Dynamics CRM solution, which I'm very happy to show you today. Now, so much about the theory. I promised it was short. Now let's jump into practice. In order to get your dox42 licenses, let me just quickly show you how to get those. On our website, on the download page, you can simply go here, and then you can download the Office add-ins here. You can also download your Dynamics CRM solution from here and the Dynamics CRM add-in. And if you need a dox42 server and the dox42 CRM server, just shoot us a message and we will give you the keys. Either we will give you the access to an online instance, or if you want to test on premise, that's also fine. We can also give you that. So you can download it all there, and once you've downloaded that, you will be ready to start with your first template. That's always the starting point. We start with a template. And today we will be working with the dox42 Word template. So what you need is a Word document, and then there's the dox42 data map where all the data connection is stored. And today we also work with a connection file. So that this is where you store your connection details, and that just makes it easy if you have a lot of templates and should your connection change over time. It's very easy to adjust it only once and not for every template. And I'm going to open my template. But before I will show you some more about the template, I'm actually going to show you what we're going to achieve today, what we're looking to achieve today. So let me switch back to my Chrome, and I'm going to show you my Dynamics scenario. Just going to refresh it for a second so we have the page loaded. So today we will be looking at the configuration side of dox42 and how to get a button call within Dynamics. So we have some buttons here which we've added, the generate documents button, and we're here in a quote entity. And if I click here, we have a few buttons, and I'm going to click on return PDF quote now to show you. So this is what dox42 does. When I click on there, dox42 is returning a PDF document to me. And we will add one of those buttons today with a new template, which we will be adding to SharePoint now. So my sales quote, this is how the document looks like, generated by dox42. Here's some information for the customer, product information with some nice pictures added, PowerPoint presentations, and more information. A really nice and compelling looking document generated automatically. And we will add that today. And the first step to do that with dox42 is to start with the dox42 add-in. And here I have my template. I'm not going to go too much into detail on how to set up those templates because my colleague Fabian has had a dox42 class last week, which was called dox42 Worded In From Zero to Hero, where he showed how to build a template from scratch. So if you want some more information on that, I recommend you to watch it. The recording is on YouTube and can be found on our site or on our channel. But just to show you, I'm going to click on one of those fields here. And then we have the data field explorer, and I can see my field is called named, and it comes from my Dynamics data source organizations. Good. And I add those data sources if I go on the dox42 ribbon up here. So that's the add-in. And then here I have my data map designer. And in here I have various data sources I can add, for example, SharePoint and Dynamics. Like here we can see we have Dynamics, we have SharePoint, we have Excel data sources. So you can combine all those data sources. And let me just show you, if I go on sales quote input, how I make my connection. I add my CRM URL. In that case, we've used a connection file in the background, so you can't see the URL right now. I could add a username, password, or Azure Active Directory information, adding it here, and then I simply click on connect, and now dox42 is using my Azure Active Directory information, connecting for me in the background to my Dynamics. And then here I can choose which entity I want to load. In my case, it's the quote entity, and I could choose which fields I actually want to show and want to use to add them to my document. Just to show you that. And then important to know, so for the ones of you who might know dox42 a bit already, we're working with input parameters. So an input parameter helps us to decide and to define which data dox42 should pull. So if you say generate a quote for me from CRM, we need to tell dox42 which quote it should take with data from CRM. This is done with an input parameter. And if we work with the new CRM solution we configured in the background, that an input parameter needs to be called ID. You can change that in the background if you want, but in the standard, you need to call it ID. This is when you, for example, want to generate a quote from CRM. If you want to generate a document with various item IDs, for example, if you have a product list, if you want to choose dynamically in CRM, I want to generate a list with all my products, it will pull more IDs. And in that case, you would need to call your input parameter request body. But today we are working with ID, just generating one quote for you to know. Good. This is how it looks like. And then I'm going to generate my document locally. So when you set up your templates, you can always test them. I clicked on generate. And now my input parameter that's called ID is popping up, and it asks me which document to generate. And it says solar panels, but in the background it pulls the ID, just it shows me solar panels here. And I click on generate, and now I will have my document returned into Word. So, and then we're going to see it's going to look similar as the one that I generated. And we have here our some information here, sales quote, and then I've also added my product information. Great. And so here we see that that the template works in the add-in, and now it's our turn to add it to CRM with our new solution. And the way I'm going to do this, so I'm going to upload this template to SharePoint. I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to move to my SharePoint because we're going to work with dox42 Online today. I'm going to store my templates on SharePoint. I have a SharePoint site called Dynamics 365, and it's the library for sales templates. And then I can go here, upload, choose my files, and then I'm going to choose my sales code. I would also need to upload my data map and my connection, but I've done that in the past already. So I'm just going to upload my Word document. But for you, it's important to also have the data map up there. So for me, it's already up here and the connection file. Great, that's done. Now it's on SharePoint, and now it's our part to integrate it into CRM. Before that, so if you use dox42 on-premise, you can skip the next parts. But if you use dox42 Online, you need to add an app to dox42 to Azure Active Directory, and you also need to work with the dox42 online server. And here for my dox42 app in Azure Active Directory, you can see that we've added a dox42 Online app. Just going to open that. Here we have an app ID and we have a tenant ID. And if we look at my redirect URIs, I've added my Dynamics page, for example. So we've done all of that configuration, and that within my dox42 Online. So this is how the management panel looks like for my dox42 Online. I've added my SharePoint Online sites where my templates are stored. So I said it was the Dynamics page. I've added it here, and then I've added the app ID and the tenant ID from my Azure AD app registration. Of course, it's all documented, but just for you to know and see how this looks like. Great. Once this is done, we can start working within Dynamics and integrate our Dynamics solution. So that's the prerequisite. Let me switch to my Dynamics, and we do this in the settings area. Just a little disclaimer, I had to leave my settings in German because my Dynamics system is in German and I can't switch it. I couldn't show you the settings in English. Dynamics doesn't allow me, but I'm going to explain anyway, so it shouldn't be too bad. So I'm here in my settings, and then I go in solutions, and here in my solutions area I can go on import. And then when I import, I can import my dox42 solution. And to let you know, so I mentioned that you download it from the website, the Dynamics CRM. And this is how the Dynamics, so this is how the download folder looks like. You have Dynamics CRM. Here you have the data source included, which you will use for the add-ins. And then here you have a folder for CRM Solution. And within here, you have a sample template, which you can use. You have the documentation, and you have a zip file that includes the dox42 solution. And we want to integrate that. So within CRM, you go on import, and then you choose your file here, you choose your zip file, and then you import it. I'm not going to do it right now because I've already have it in my system. But it's really, you just click on import, and then you say publish all customizations, and then you have it there. It's just 2 clicks. Also later on, if you want to do an update, it's the same way. Just go on import and import the new solution. Once that is done, here you have then the dox42 solution. And here it's called dox42 client libraries. And if I open that one, I can see my solution elements. And those are user rights. Those are some JavaScripts. We're not going to work with those. They are pre-configured for you. You can that's there, so we don't need to adjust or look at them at all. User roles and 2 entities. And the first entity is service connections. that's used to tell dox42 which to tell Dynamics which dox42 server to use for the document generation. And the second one is the template configuration. This is where we tell, okay, which template should it take from where and what document should be generated. Those two entities should be shown in your settings area in Dynamics automatically. If they don't show, just click on those, and then here it says areas where that entity should be shown, and here you should tick settings. Good. And then to go back to my solution, just to explain you the user roles. So we have a global admin role, and the global admin is allowed to configure the service connection and the template configuration. If you have the dox42 template manager, those are only allowed to adjust the template configurations. So they can't do anything on the service. So it's for the people that work with the templates, and then the dox42 users only allowed to read those configurations, and they can only generate documents and can't adjust anything in the system. Great. So you need to add those user roles to your users accordingly, what you need. But that's it so far. That's it what you need to know from that solution. And now we're actually going to work with it, and we're going to start with the dox42 service connection. And here under my settings, I have my customizations and I have my dox42 service connection. I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to click on here. And here I already have 3 different dox42 service connections. And I'm going to open the dox42 online to show you. So what you need here is, you could also add a new one by clicking new up here. I need to give it a name. So let's call it dox42 online, and then here I give the URL to my server, so dox42 test dox42.online. So to see, it's exactly the same as up here, that name. We put it in here, and then we add the app ID and the tenant ID. This is also the same as in our dox42 in our Azure Active Directory app registrations. It's those 2 numbers. Those are added. And then we give the template base URL. So in this case, we say that we will store our templates on SharePoint. We will store them in Dynamics 365 for sales templates. This is our base URL. You can have this as short or as long as you want. If you just want to have it until SharePoint, that's fine. If you want to have it until a certain folder, that's fine as well. Great. This is when we connect with an online server. If we, for example, have an on-premise server, it's super easy and straightforward. We just give a name and then the server URL, and here as well template-based URL. In that case, it's stored directly on the server, but of course this could be SharePoint as well to read the templates from. Good. And once the service connection is set up, it's time to work with our templates. So I go on my template configurations, and I can see that I've already have a few template configurations, but we're going to add a new one. I'm going to click on new, and now this is where I configure which template dox42 should pull, which Word document, and what it should do with it. I'm going to give it a name, and I will say sales quote simple. It's important to name that in a right way, so because you will still need that later on. We will call this one sales quote simple. Then we need to choose a service, and our service is so one dox42 service. We're going to use the dox42 online. So if you have more dox42 servers, you can choose one here. I'm going to say dox42 online, and this is here with the template URL relative to the base. This is where I complete my path to my document. And my document path, I'm going to look back. So my document is called sales quote simple. I'm just going to copy the name so I don't make any mistakes. I go back here, sales quote simple .docx. So dox42 knows it's going to pull that. Then the operation, if I want to generate a document, a spreadsheet or slides, I'm going to say generate document. And then here the HTTP method is here I can choose if I want to get or post requests. I would recommend just leaving on auto. So if you just generate documents with one ID, it's going to use get automatically. And if it's with more IDs, if you, for example, pull a list, it will take post automatically. So I'm going to go on auto. And then next, I need to define my additional query string. And this is where I say if dox42 should generate a PDF for me, if it should be sent as an email, if it should be stored to SharePoint. So all the possibilities are here. And my possibilities, where do I find that? I find them on our website. If I go on resources, and then if I scroll down to documentation, and then I have the dox42 server documentation. I'm going to open that. And here I have here my different output actions. We have a save action, SharePoint action, email action, and so on. And I'm going to work with the return action because I'm going to do it simple today. I just want to return my document in the PDF. So here and then the syntax for that is always I need to tell the action name, then I need to tell the parameter name and the effect. And mandatory is only the format, so I'm going to add that. So I need the format and the file format. When I go back here, I need to say, okay, this is a return action. Then it's a dot and the parameter is format and it should be returned as PDF. Great. And then I save it. And this is all the configuration I need to make to set up my templates to tell dox42 what to do with my documents. So solution side-wise, everything is done. Now the final step needs to be done to get our calls, our buttons into the system. If you, for example, work with Microsoft Flow, you can do that without Ribbon Workbench. But today I'll show you how it works to get the button in. So the Ribbon Workbench, for those of you that work a lot with Dynamics, might already be familiar with. It's something that's used a lot across the Dynamics platform. So we chose this one as a button builder, so to say, for us. So it's something you need to install separately. And then once you've done that, you will find it here under your settings, Ribbon Workbench, and where you configure your button calls. I've opened it already in the meanwhile. And I have it open here, and I've opened my solution, my quote tab. So here is my quote tab, my comment bar, and here see I have two buttons already added: the start process and the generate documents. Those are exactly those two buttons which we have here. And then if I open this, we have a lot of calls down here. And now we want to add our new template to this one as well. And I'm going back to my Ribbon Workbench, and here for my generate documents, I open that one here. I want the last one. I want to add a new button. So what I'll do is I'm going to go down here, say add a button. Now I have a button down here, and now I'm going to name my button. I'm going to say new quote, sales quote. Simple. This is how the button is gonna be called, and then add a label. I will say simple sales quote, so we can see it's called simple sales quote now. And yeah, I'm just gonna copy that down here, and then I need an image. I'm just gonna look for dox42, and then we can see it's taking that arrow here, and I'm just gonna copy that down here so that it can be shown in modern, in classic UI. It works with all. So now we have the button added, and now what we still need to do is we need to add a comment, like a function to that button. And that's all done within here as well. So we have a lot of comments here, and I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to say new comment, and I'm going to call it comment new quote, comment sales quote simple, so it's in line. And then I need to add my actions, and I need to add JavaScript actions. But don't worry, we don't actively work with the JavaScript. I just need to add the ones that were part of our solution package. And here I have my dox42 other. And the first thing I have to say, my other is not a number. Then the second one is another action, a JavaScript action. I have to add my dox42 client libraries. So that was also part of the solution. And here my function name is, I say generate file, to generate a file for me. And now I need to add some parameters here. My first parameter is, I say a string parameter. I need to say, okay, which template configuration should it take? Which document should it generate? So if I go back to my template connection, and if I know this one is called sales quote underscore simple, I want this one sales quote underscore simple. I hope I don't have any typos in there. Sales quote underscore simple. So that needs to match this name here of that configuration, that it takes that. It should take that. And then I need to add another parameter, CRM parameter. I'm going to say it, please pull the selected item IDs of the CRM, which I choose in my input parameter. All of that is done and set up. And now I'm going to go on simple sales quote, back to my button. And now I can say, choose my comment. I want the sales quote simple. Great, the comment is added to my button. And now all I need to do is publish. And now Ribbon Workbench is publishing that button for me. That sometimes takes a bit of a while. So while this one is publishing and loading, and before I can show you, let me just maybe go back to my template configurations and tell you a bit more about the possibilities. So here we can see we have a lot of templates and a lot of different actions added. For example, up here we have a PowerPoint presentations that's generated and sent as an email. That says mail, sent as an email automatically. We have a CRM action, so you can generate documents and then store them automatically back to your CRM quote as an annotation, for example. So you can do that. We have a selected products list where the document is returned in Word format and returned as a document, the Word sent via email, and so on. So let's see how far the publishing is. It's 92%. So don't worry, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. Just this is how Ribbon Workbench is publishing, and then I'm going to just prove you that everything worked, what we've done. Great, it's publishing the solution, so let's give it just a few more seconds. Also, just to already tell you, since we're running out of a little bit out of time, so next week, so we have the dox42 class every Wednesday in the morning. Next week it's going to be at 10, and we are going to have a class that's called dox42 class questions. So if you have some questions, you can send them to me beforehand, and then we will answer them, of course, anonymously in the webinar. So it's going to be a very interactive session. Great, the publish was successful. I'm going to switch back to my Dynamics, to my quote, and then I will have my button, generate documents. I have my simple sales quote. I'm clicking on this one, and now I just need to log in again because I've been inactive for a while, and now my document is generated in the background with the new template, and it will be returned to me in a second. And I have here my document 2020 sales quote for Adventure CO, and here my product table, my product information. And all of that was done in less than 30 minutes. So you see, once you are familiar a little bit with dox42, once you are familiar a bit with Ribbon Workbench and so on, it's very easy and fast to integrate documents into the system. Great. And before I let you go, as I just mentioned before, weekly educational webinars every Wednesday. The next ones you can see here, you can see them on our events page. You can see them if you follow us on LinkedIn for the dox42 class. We'll be happy to see you there as well. And of course, here you have my contact information if you want to have a free trial, a 2-3-hour workshop. Just let me know, just send us an email, and I would be happy to hear some feedback and of course some questions from you anytime. We're happy to answer and help you. And yeah, all that's left for me to say is thank you for joining, thank you for being here, and have fun and enjoy our new dox42 Dynamics CRM solution. Thank you. Bye.